heal is to cause a wound or an injury to become healthy again. In Hollow Knight, it's what you usually do when everything's gone horribly wrong. It's the last resort, while my screen flashes white and I approach my kids with a belt for the 5th time today. So naturally, in this channel's grand tradition of making terrible decisions for content, I decided to make the heal my only move. That means no nail attacks, no spells, and a triple-digit amount of fist-shaped holes in my drywall. But Gregory, you ask, how are you going to complete a combat game with just healing? Firstly, that's a stupid question, and you should feel ashamed of yourself for asking that. Secondly, the answer lies in one of Hollow Knight's greatest medical breakthroughs, the Spore Shroom charm. This charm is the only reason that this challenge exists at all. To my frustrations, of course. While this charm is equipped and you heal yourself, you release a small area of spores, which will infect all nearby enemies with severe bronchitis, resulting in a slow and mildly uncomfortable death. It is, without question, the most effective way to deal damage after healing. And since it's also the only way to deal damage after healing, it's simultaneously the worst. So take that how you will. Now our one problem is that the charm is found all the way at the bottom left corner of the fungal wastes. So let's stop wasting time and begin the run. And before you start writing your dissertation in the comments, I am allowed to use my nail to break objects, because without it, then I wouldn't even be able to start the game at all. Entering and exiting Dirt Mouth leads us straight down the Forgotten Crossroads, home of mosquitoes, cockroaches, and Romanians. There isn't much to say yet. The challenge hasn't technically started, as all we can really do is make our way down to the fungal wastes, which is to the left, down a set of platforms, and to the right, which leads us directly into a gauntlet. All exits are blocked, and it's just me versus an aspid fly. The run has barely started, and it's already circling down the drain. I've tried peaceful negotiations, but it seems that the fly refuses to commit suicide, which is detrimental to our end goals. So for this challenge to have any hope of continuing, I'm going to have to use some more persuasive techniques. And that technique comes in the form of a convenient stalactite. Through the power of my sheer aura, I can encourage the aspid to fly underneath the stalactite. And when I walk underneath it as well, the stalactite falls, instantly vaporizing the fly. It was a freak accident, to no fault of mine. And if only it was the end, because 2 more appear out of nowhere. Now this room only has 2 stalactites in total. That means that the first one needs to be used on the first aspid, and the second one needs to be used on both of them at the same time. Easier said than done. There are occasions where the aspid could be too close to the stalactite as it begins to fall, which means that the stalactite will do no damage at all, and I am forced to quit back to the menu so I don't have to fight my shade, which as of right now, I have no methods to kill. If the worst does happen though, I can use the environment to kill it, but there is an easier way to complete this room, even if it is a bit direct. We firstly watch in horror as the first aspid fly dies a completely avoidable demise, bless his soul, and after I forcefully transform a stalactite into a stalagmite, the next 2 aspids unfortunately stand in the way of it and immediately combust into a thick orange goo. And some may say that this was an obvious case of first-degree murder, but that's not considering the fact that, Your Honor, my client, myself, pleads that he did it for the vine. With that one obstruction cleared, we can finally progress to the second obstruction. Behold, a slightly large gap. Now usually, this gap could easily be cleared with a simple jump and dash, but we don't have the dash, as that is found in Green Path, beyond both Hornet and a particularly stubborn armadillo, who has chosen to personally gatekeep my progress. But I have my ways. We are going to time travel back to November 9th, 2017. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
I think there's someone hanging right there.
It was the times when several red gremlins walked up to you, asking if you knew the way. But it was also when Hollow Knight version 1.2.2.1 released, which also came out with a copious number of bugs. More than the game already had. We then find 5 captive grubs. 4 of them are easy enough to get, while 1 is slightly out of reach. But with this one simple trick, we can completely bypass it. This trick is called killing myself. But if I return, we can find our shade, floating nearby our last place of death. Now this shade will chase us relentlessly, which is good for us, as we will be able to bait it exactly where we want it to go. And after positioning it right between myself and the grub, I throw myself over and to the right of it, damaging me, yes, but it also pushes me onto the ledge with the grub, getting me my 5th and final grub. This took me more failed attempts than I have in my dating life. As if you aren't perfectly positioned when you get hit. You would either be thrown in the wrong direction, or you just wouldn't make it to the grub at all. Either way, we can now go to the grub father, and he gives us gifts of coin and a mosque shard. Here's why we needed to be in a previous version of Hollow Knight. As in this version, it is possible to pause the game while in midair. So if we jump over the mosque, pause in midair, unpause immediately, and then fall on the mosque, we will have mastered the ability to fly. This flight is limited, however, as to change directions, we have to push against the geometry in the environment. Just don't get hit by any bugs, or you might be stuck in the same x-axis for the rest of your life. But if you make your way perfectly down to the fungal waste, you can easily fly past the gap, down the tunnel, and right next to Leg Eater, where we can rest on the bench and gain the freedom to walk once again. We are in the fungal wastes. Where to now? The spore shroom charm is still a far distance away, and we can't pass through the easiest path on the left, as that locks us in a stalactite-free gauntlet. So, the right path is the right path. You can tell that this area was designed with a dash in mind, as the gaps are larger than usual, and there are ever-prevalent heights that can't be cleared by jumping alone. But before we retrieve the spore shroom, I believe we should get the mantis claws first, so we can gain the ability to climb walls, and actually complete some parkour. And to get them, we must enter the mantis village in a different way, as the normal path needs a jump and a dash to cross. And unfortunately, killing ourselves here does not work, as the shade spawns all the way to the left. But since we are still in version 1.2.2.1, we can bait this batch of mushrooms to shoot a fungal spore at us, which also contains 200 kilograms of gunpowder. When it detonates, we can pogo off of the explosion twice, which takes us directly into the mantis village. This skip only works in this version, and after this skip, we can switch back to the current version.
Rewind time.
But for now, we have another gap that needs clearing. We can use our old friend, the Shade, to clear it. It's the same story. I kill myself, I come back, and after several million tries, the Shade hits me in the perfect direction for me to walk up to the mantis claws. With ease, I am now able to scale walls and use it to climb to the room with the spore shroom charm. It is only one skin-melting, acid-filled pit away. Now, if this was a normal run, we would use the dash to complete the jump. This is not a normal run, but we could use the super dash with the crystal heart. Now, it might be difficult to get that heart, as we have to go to the crystal peak, and there's only two ways to enter the crystal peak. One of those ways is through the use of a ground slam after defeating the soul master. And considering that I haven't even killed an insect yet, let alone a boss, that is ruled out. The other way is with a lantern. We can use the lantern to navigate through a dark area, which leads us straight into the peak. But this path in the dark is blocked without the lantern. And to get the lantern, we need to buy it from a fly called Sly. And to get to the guy, we need to ride past a bug before it spots us with its large eye, and thereby would make us die. I let out a sigh and cry, as it seems the end of this run is nigh. Now I wonder why this challenge went all awry. French fry. Whether we like it or not, this path is a dead end, but we can always take the scenic route. Heading back up to the fungal wastes, we can break a secret wall by the spore shroom charm and fall down into Deep Nest. This is the area that Dante was describing in Dante's Inferno. Silverfish appear from the ground to ambush me. Large centipedes impede my progress as I try to flee from the silverfish, and I don't even know what bug this is supposed to be based off of. Although here is where we can find the tram pass, which allows us to access both trams in this game. One of these trams takes us straight into the ancient basin, which would conveniently connect to the City of Tears if there wasn't a parkour section where I needed the dash for. Most of the parkour can be crossed with just the mantis claws, even if the jumps are a little bit wide. But right at the end, an uncrossable gap lies before us. This time, however, we don't need the shade, as one of the city guards grants me access directly into the city with a small, sword-shaped cavity in my chest. Either way, we are welcomed into the City of Tears. Our stay isn't long, as we just need to head up an elevator, which takes us to the lower, blocked-off level of the resting grounds. If we took the tram by the Forgotten Crossroads, we would have only made it to the top level, with no way to the bottom. So from here, we cross the lake, jump off a cliff, and finally make it to the other side of the grub mother. This took longer than I thought it would, but we say hi to the fly called Sly, and we meet him again in a shop and purchase the 1800 geo. With that price, this lantern better cure AIDS and give me an orgasm as well. We are flat broke, and we have two ways of approaching this. We could go around the map, breaking some geo rocks for around 15 geo each, or in the room with the rising worms are two mosquitoes that will follow you to the ends of the earth, as well as straight into the loving embrace of the worms, which instantly kills them. The two of them drop 6 geo in total. So in order to buy the lantern, we need to carry the 2, divide by 10, square the root and double it. Kill 600 mosquitoes. Yeah, okay, that's doable. I won't put the farming in the video, or else the video may or may not be 2 hours long. In any case, just know that it was a painful experience. I'm 1800 geo richer, I light up dark areas, and I have not yet orgasmed. This lantern was a scam. Now, we can finally pass through the dark area. And enter the Crystal Peak. This place is not difficult, but just insanely annoying. Spikes, hydraulic presses, and a very frightening presence. That's Base Crystal Guardian. I better keep my ass in Dirtmouth, or I'm finished. We walk right past them and enter the final room before the Crystal Heart. This is a parkour section. I think you know what's about to happen. It doesn't take too long into the parkour before an impossible gap awaits us. Usually, we would fall and dash onto the next platform, but without the dash, it is impossible to make this jump. I try to jump and I get hit by the spikes. I tried using the Sprint Master charm to try and increase my sprint speed, but that doesn't increase my speed in the air. I even tried performing a ritual with some witches to skip this section, but they drugged me and stole my wallet. I think right now, it's about time to hang up our hats and give up. That's what a quitter would say. That's right. Never quit. Never give up on your dreams. Never stop using that vape pen. Back to the Forgotten Crossroads. We have to go past the False Knight. Now all other paths to avoid him are locked with a gate. But if we convince him a little bit with a couple of smacks to the chest and head, he gets a little angry, loosening the planks to the left and letting us completely break free from the boss arena without killing him. Now this may be controversial, but in my opinion, it was just a friendly sparring match. I didn't kill him and he didn't kill me. The CIA in particular would refer to this as diplomacy. But past the night lies a shack where a snail shaman awaits. He would give us a power called Vengeful Spirit, only if we slay a beast for him. But we won't be able to do that. And if I accept the Vengeful Spirit, we will be trapped until we kill the beast. So, let's perform another glitch. If we stand by the edge of this bench, next to the shaman, press up, right, and attack all at the same time, we can perform the glitch. You'll know that it's working if the text above the bench is still visible, even if you're standing away from it. Then we can claim the Vengeful Spirit and wake up inside the cage with the beast. But if we press up, we will warp straight back to the bench without killing the beast. And with this, we have claimed the power of the Vengeful Spirit, completely tax-free. We can now head back to the parkour in the Crystal Peak, get some soul from a statue, and enter the section we were having trouble with. Now let me actually tell you why we got this attack in the first place. It not only shoots a clump of soul, but it also pauses us in the air and throws us a little backwards as well. And with some precise jumping, we can stall ourselves in mid-air, just barely an inch from the spikes, and shoot the Vengeful Spirit 3 times to finally land the jump. After multiple practice jumps and failures, it is complete. And the rest of the parkour wasn't all too difficult, aside from some very tight jumps. But we finish it and gain the Crystal Heart, which allows us to fly in a straight line. We can go back to the fungal wastes, go down by the acid pool, and fly straight across, all the way to the spore shroom. I just realized that more than half of this video was actually retrieving the charm. But now that I have it, we can murder indiscriminately. A very mediocre level of murder, that is. In order to actually use this charm, however, we need soul. As with soul, we can heal. And to get soul, we need to use our needle to attack. So that's no good. But if we collect 5 more grubs, the Grub Father gives us the Grub Song charm. This lets us refill our soul by 15% whenever we take damage. And to heal, we just need to fill our soul by 33%. we need to get hit 3 times in total to heal once. But if you've got a Yakubian-sized brain like me, you would have figured out that this isn't sustainable. But if we go back to the Crystal Peak, there's another charm called Deep Soul, which although increases the amount of time needed to heal, it heals 2 mosques instead of 1 with the same amount of soul. It doesn't fully solve our problem, but more like puts it on life support. I'll take it. As a bonus though, it also increases the range of our bronchitis. But now, we can finally begin the challenge. We head to Green Path, destroy the lungs of the armadillo blocking our path, skip half the area with the mantis claws, and face Hollow Knight's Silksong. Considering she is one of the first bosses, she is very slow, leaving me with many openings to heal and release my cloud of spores. Her dive and needle throw in particular are 2 attacks which lets me pull off a heal. Silksong is very aggressive, so if I activate spores on one side of the arena, she will Shaw and Tugale her way over to me, completely rotting her lungs in the process. And after my soul runs out, I can run into her and start the process all over again. The one problem with these tactics is that if I get hit while healing, we not only lose the soul for that heal, but the spores don't release as well, losing an entire chance of damage. If we get hit even once, it's very likely we won't have enough soul, nor HP to finish the fight, so we have to play passively, avoiding all of her dashes and dives, and healing only when we have an opening. And only then, she falls, and delays Silksong by another 10 years. I also end up finally getting the dash, but this fight made me realize something. The spores deal damage equivalent to that of coughing in someone's general direction, so we need some more damage improvement. And surprisingly, there is a way to increase our damage, but first, we need more HP.
I did some mining off camera, I went ahead and I got us some diamonds, it's epic.
With 2 more mosques gained, I enter the waterways, which is a murky blue hellhole of maggots and whatever fetish these insects represent. Making our way to the right, the walls get increasingly covered in fecal matter, and the one responsible for this mess is the Dung Defender. Now the Defender has significantly more HP than Hornet, so we have to be a lot more careful not to waste any soul. The problem is, the Defender is not a close-ranged fighter like Hornet. He prefers to jump around, dive into the ground, and if we get too close and try to heal, he will back away, completely wasting a heal that could have been used to damage. The first phase is not a challenge in the typical sense of I'm trying to survive, but more,
why won't you die?
The hardest part of this fight is getting him to stay in the radius of the spores, but he moves so much, and if I'm completely honest, I haven't really developed a secure strategy to beat him consistently. It felt like luck that sometimes he would just stand still for the entirety of the spore duration. At least he's a little more predictable in phase 2. He starts by jumping in and out of the ground, which gives us a small chance to damage him, and if I stocked up on soul before the fight, we would have enough soul to finish him off, which gives us the Defender's Crest. No, babe, the putrid smell of piss and shit around me? That's aura, babe. This aura empowers the Spore Shroom charm to shoot out a petulant circle of dung, which does almost double the damage of the normal spores. My favorite. Now we only have a few more required bosses needed to beat the game. That is the Broken Vessel, Watcher Knight, Umu, and the Hollow Knight. And also add Hornet to the list. Right back down to the basement, again, and heading to the left this time. The Broken Vessel awaits my arrival. Now what I didn't mention about the Defender's Crest is that my powerful, emanating, musky aura also does damage. This does conflict with the rules slightly, but honestly, bronchitis doesn't have the same ring to it that diarrhea does.
Please, President Trump.
And also it is kind of impossible to beat the game with the Spore Shroom charm. But I digress. We can use this aura to easily take out the small flyers that the vessel summons. And the boss itself, easier than Hornet in fact. He happily jumps within shit's reach, even if I'm on the other side of the arena, making damaging him not a problem at all. I break the Broken Vessel, gain the ability to double jump, and use it to get up all the way to the next boss, the Watcher Knights. They were unfiltered butt cheeks. Now he isn't the only boss, but it's also him, and him, and him, and him. And I think you get it. There are in total 6 of them, and only 2 can be active at one time. They do have comparatively smaller health bars each. However, what they don't have in HP, they make up for in invincibility and mobility. You see, anytime I'm more than 5 inches away from a Watcher, they take the form of a spiky ballsack and either roll or jump to my location. And during this roll, they can both exit my cloud of fecal matter and take no damage from it at all. This is because they are completely invincible while they roll. To avoid this, A sweet spot exists where the watcher will not roll to my location, but instead will briskly jog to take a swing at me. We can exploit this to make sure that they inhale my butthole for as long as possible. And after repeating this action 5 more times, I close the eyes of the lost watcher and make my way to the first of 3 dreamers. I just want to say that I thought this challenge would be way harder, but honestly, I haven't had a real struggle at all yet. Both of these bosses so far gave me more than enough time to heal, so I do hope it gets harder. I spoke too soon, it seems. We are fighting Hornet for the 2nd time. You could even call this Hollow Knight 2. What? She has gotten faster. Fast enough to almost completely make the Deep Soul Charm useless. Nearly every time I try to heal, Silksong makes me regret it, completely wasting a heal. Her jumps and dashes come out twice as quick, and she can also set down ranged traps, which can be swatted away. Still very annoying though. But one attack lets me guarantee a heal, and that's the same one from the first fight, the needle throw. This gives me enough time to heal, and as a bonus, she bomb rushes me and inhales what I ate for breakfast.
My dinner, lovely.
We can repeat the strategy ad nauseum, and you have yourself a recipe for success and for the defeat of Hollow Knight Song. I claim the King's Crest, descend into the abyss, get jumped by shades, get the Shade Cloak, and explore Deep Nest one last time. Another dreamer lies here, so let's make it quick. Okay, the lost dreamer lies in the Fog Canyon. After getting blown up more times than the Middle East, I make my way to the teacher's archives and defeat the easiest boss in this game and claim the lost dream. No, wait. What do you mean we didn't defeat Umu? It's a giant jellyfish with 2 attacks. It's meant to be a gimmick fight. What could have possibly been a problem? Okay, so with Umu, the gimmick is that he is completely until Quirrell slashes through his hide, letting us take him on a trip to Pound Town. Now the problem here is that he is completely immune to the stench of my excrements. I tried, but here's undeniable proof. He takes no damage at all. I guess jellyfish don't have noses to smell my stench, so the challenge is practically over. But theoretically, with the aid of a program that plays the game for me, we can kill a jellyfish and guide its missile all the way into Umu's boss room. And once Umu slashes through his hide, we can use the bomb to kill Umu instantly. Now, is this impossible for humans? Yes, 100%. I mean, look at these movements. But is it technically possible to kill Umu without attacking? Also, yes, I'm taking the win. I absorb the dreamer and move on to the black egg for the last and final fight. So, the final phase shouldn't be taking this long. I have been stuck at this phase for 5 minutes at this point. There is definitely something wrong here. Dear viewer, I am sorry to inform you, but Hollow Knight, the game, cannot be beaten by only healing. For whatever reason, Team Cherry specifically coded the game to not play the final cutscene if the Hollow Knight isn't damaged by either a nail or a spell. In fact, the game will outright refuse to kill the Hollow Knight if damaged by the spore shroom. He will instead stay stuck at 0 HP forever, unless I smack him with a nail. Now isn't that a kick to the nuts? Well, wrap it up folks, it's over. Challenge run failed. I'm shutting down the channel. Subscribe before I do it.